Have you ever had a regret? I know one thing. If you turn this video off and don't watch it all the way to the end, you're going to regret it, okay? In this video, I want to share with you 4 strategies that I've used to deal with regret in my life. I hope they're a help for you like they've been a help for me. This is old Mike, old me, living better. My motto is real simple. If you ain't dead, you ain't done. Well, I'm not dead and I'm not done, so here I go. Richard Wright, the famous author, wrote this: regrets are the natural consequences of doing nothing. Regrets are the natural consequences of doing nothing. So let's do something about it, okay? Here's my 4 strategies for dealing with regrets. They are stop, reframe, fix, and move on. Stop, reframe, fix, and move. And I want to go into each one of those. Chances are you're watching this video because you may have subscribed to my channel based on a video I did on starting a YouTube channel. So let's deal with that. If you don't start a YouTube channel over the next year, you're probably going to regret it. Or maybe you'll start one and you'll regret it. You know, I don't know. I do know this, that dealing with regrets in the moment, in other words, dealing with issues so they don't become regrets, is the real way of dealing with regrets. So I'm going to give you my tip for this. It's called Old Mike's 72-hour rule. Actually, I got it from old Mabel. She was 91, and I had a conversation with her one day, and I said, Mabel, how have you done your life so well? She had 18 kids. She had about 60 relatives, grandkids, great-grandkids. She started 2 successful businesses. I mean, this lady was a whiz-bang, and I asked her, do you have any regrets? She said, no, I use Mabel's 72-hour rule all of my life. I said, what's that? She said, well, actually, it came from my dad. It was my dad's rule first. And she said, when it comes to life decisions, when it comes to anything that's really important, financial, relationship, business, whatever, I use old Mabel's 72-hour rule. So I decided to do that. For the last 30 years, I've used old Mike's 72-hour rule. That means when I'm faced with a major decision that I might regret later, either doing it or not doing it, I take 2 to 3 days. I journal about it. I make a page of the, what if I did this, would it be good? What if I did that, would it be bad? I talk to other people, but I do not make snap decisions over major things. Old Mike's 72-hour rule has kept me from regretting. Now, I've got a lot of regrets from my early life, and I'll talk about those in a minute. But if you apply old Mike's 72-hour rule, you'll be able to stop most of the future regrets that you're going to have. So how do you handle possible regrets right now? Comment below. Tell me your experience, okay? So number 2 strategy for dealing with regrets is to reframe. R-E-F-R-A-M-E. Reframe. In other words, looking at a regret in a different way. I got kicked out of high school in my junior year. Wow. And boy, did I regret that. It was a horrible time in my life. I had to go to another high school, a rival high school of all things. And I ended up getting over there late, and I got signed up for 2 classes I would never sign up for: choir and public speaking. Man, I couldn't sing a lick, and I was scared to death of public speaking. Would you believe, by the time I got to college, I was in a 60s folk group singing in a choir. It was wonderful. My friend Vince, he played the banjo. My friend Gary Lambert, who ended up being a great choir director up in San Jose. The 3 of us, we were called the Sandy Bay Singers. We went all over Southern California and played in coffee houses. Wow. So what was a regret if I reframe it and look at it in a different way? It was an event that turned my life around and fit into the purpose of my life. Now, it's hard to turn every single regret into something positive, but it's a good step in the right direction. Here's what Henry Ford said: "The only real mistake is the one from which we learn nothing." The only real mistake is the one in which we learn nothing. So if we treat regrets as events in our lives to learn from, I think that's a much better way to deal with regrets. Part of reframing regrets is to see it as a learning experience. Well, what about the regrets that you can't stop, you can't reframe? And they're very serious in your life. Step number 3, or resource number 3, is to fix it. When I was 18 years old, my dad had a heart attack and a stroke. And he was my adoptive dad. He was the only dad I ever knew. I was adopted when I was 4 months old. I loved him dearly. I was sitting in the living room. He was in a hospital bed. He actually died a few days later. But sitting next to me, he rolled his head over, couldn't talk very well, and this is what he said to me. He said, "I am so sorry. I haven't been a better father for you." Oh, my word. At 18, I mean, how am I going to handle that? In the aftermath, though, as I look back on it, my dad was dealing with a regret before he died. He was dealing with a regret before he died. He was fixing a regret before he died. Ware has a fascinating book, The Top 5 Regrets of the Dying. The Top 5 Regrets of the Dying. And I encourage you to get the book. It's a great read. It's a lot about her life, her journey into being a palliative caregiver. But she details the 5 regrets that she identifies that dying people have. And in there, she tells a story of somebody she was taking care of who was elderly. He was about to die, but he had not spoken to his sister for like 40 or 50 years. And the sister kept calling and wanting to talk to him. She wanted to make up. But this man was so bitter. His regret was so deep. His hurt was so deep that the sister called one day, Brony, on her phone, and she said, "Can I speak to him?" And she asked him, and the guy said no. He died with a regret. He died with the pain of all of that for all of those years. I encourage you, don't die with the regrets that you have. How have you dealt with those regrets in your life? Comment below. How have you fixed them? What tools did you use? Who did you contact? It's so important. As I've worked with seniors now for 30 years, I can't tell you how many people, loving people, on their deathbeds have shared with me their regrets. At that time, it's too late to fix them. Fix them now. Fix them now. Fix them today. Well, what about if you can't fix them? I mean, the circumstances are such, so maybe the people have passed on that are involved with it. Maybe they were regrets, the things that you said or whatever, and there's no way to get back and fix the regret. Well, that's where strategy number 4 comes in, and that's to move on. That's to move on. Justin Peterson. Oh, by the way, you're wondering, what am I reading from? I do not script my videos, but I do kind of outline them in my Oxen Pro journal. I love my journal. A lot of people ask me about my journal. I have a link for it later in the video. I mean, in the description, if you want to get one. Justin Peterson, it says, suffering and regrets are a part of life. Finding meaning in them, this is key, finding meaning in them can help us navigate regrets constructively. To help us navigate regrets constructively. When it's time to move on, that I do a little bit of the reframing, I fix it if I can, but when it's time to move on, I have to understand that regrets are a part of life. I can let them sink me, or I can learn from them and I can move on. Another author that I really appreciate, and I've read all of her books, Lysa Terkeurst. In her book, It's Not Supposed to Be This Way. Isn't that a great title for a book? It's not supposed to be this way. I can tell you so many times in my life I'd have circumstances like, man, it wasn't supposed to be this way, that's for sure. She has two quotes that I think are really important. Now, she's a Christian author, so she brings God into some of this. The first one is, the more we linger over regrets, the less we are able to see our blessings. The more we linger over regrets. I have a tendency to obsess on things, and if you're like me, you know, you'll be trying to fall asleep at night and they're playing around in your head. Man, that is so destructive. So the more I linger on my regrets, the more I am unable to see the good things in my life. Then this other quote, and I'm going to finish the video on this quote. I love it. We don't have to have everything figured out to move forward. Remember, this last strategy is to move on. I don't have to have everything figured out to move on. So maybe I can't stop, maybe I can't reframe, maybe I can't fix it. There's a time when I need to be able to move on. This is so critical. So here are the 4 things I've used in my life to deal with regrets. Now, if you've made it this far, you haven't regretted turning off the video. I'm proud of you. It is to stop today. Don't let regrets get into your day. Reframe the ones that you can. Fix the ones that you can. And the ones you can't, I want you to move on. So, look, before I leave, a lot of people have asked about my hats. I've got a link down in the description if you want to get one of my hats. If you want to get one of my journals, you can do that. I have linked down there. And to some of the other gear I use in my videos. So let me know in the comments what you think. But don't live another day with regrets, okay? Don't live another day with regrets. This is old Mike, old me, living better. If you ain't dead, you ain't done. Oh, by the way, I do have some merch coming up soon. Not ready to release it. Here's a picture of what it may look like, okay? So get on the mailing list. You'll find out about all that kind of stuff. See you next time. Bye.